Good evening, everyone. Obviously, our feed is live. We're just going to give everyone the next kind of 5-10 minutes or so to join us. The slide that you're about to see on screen for our Slido application, if you can on a phone or on a laptop or a tablet, whatever, head over to slido.com. You can either scan the QR code that's going to appear on screen, or you can just go to slido.com and put in the SG wine tasting. We're going to be using Slido throughout the night just to get a bit of Q&A going and get some opinions as we go through the night. You know, these things are great when they're as interactive as possible. So yeah, it'd be great for you to jump on there, get yourself set up. You only really need 2 glasses. If you've got 6, fair enough, no problem. But yeah, you want to get yourself 2 glasses and make sure that your 3 red wines have come out of the fridge now. For the avoidance of doubt, they are the ones with the green background. They say wine 1, 2, and 3, and they've got a little red wine icon on there, as Sam is displaying for you. So yeah, slido.com and put in the event code SG wine tasting, or scan the QR code that is about to show on screen now. There we go. Jackie's in there, straight in. You know, just yeah. You can when you're in Slido, top right there is a little person icon. You can set your name in there. You can also remain anonymous. Feel free to keep the questions coming. I've got no problem interrupting Sam. There are no questions that we won't cover. Everything from why does this one give me a bad headache to what's the best way to drink. You know, like anything you want to know, wine related to the wines we've got. You know, feel free to throw it in there. While a few of you are now getting yourself logged on and set up, what I would love to know is what you guys look for in a good wine. So feel free to fill this one in.
What's going to be first?
I mean, look, we're looking for all the kind of standard things here. I think price. We know price is a good one. You know. What do you guys look for when you're looking for a good wine? Colour, nice. Yeah.
We're off.
We are off. And then what you'll find, as more of you choose the same thing, the word gets bigger. It just gives us a little feel for, you know, delicious, reasonable price, no aftertaste.
No aftertaste.
Fair
we'll have to
price.
explore that later.
Smell, colour.
Smell, taste.
Yeah. Depth of flavour.
Easy to drink.
Yeah.
We'll definitely go into that.
Yeah.
And
Not
depth
too
of
dry.
flavour, we'll go into that.
A good time.
A good time.
Yeah.
Mellow. Okay. No bitter aftertaste.
Nothing
Yeah, we'll
aggressive. Nothing aggressive.
Nothing aggressive. We'll definitely talk about bitter aftertastes tonight for
Yep.
sure. Refreshing, we'll definitely talk about that at some point. We'll probably talk about price even.
Yep.
Depth of flavour. We've got a right old mix in terms of depth of flavour tonight.
I mean, obviously a lot of people voting for taste. Ultimately they just want something tasty.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good to know.
Crisp. That's a good word. We hear a lot.
Yeah.
Crisp, dry. I'm not talking about your chip oil. Yeah, crisp. We can talk about what makes wine crisp. 14%. Somebody getting straight to the point there. That's the level they need.
Yeah, they want something with a good packing a good ABV. Packing a great ABV. Julie's just said hello in the YouTube chat as well. If you can throw any questions, comments, everything into either the YouTube chat, or you can use the Q&A function in Slido. So if you have just joined on a second device, you can head to slido.com and pop in the event code SG Wine Tasting, or you can scan that QR code that is on screen as well. You can throw in a few, throw in any questions that you want answered there as well. What is quite good with the Q&A on Slido as well is that if someone asks a question that you think's great and you want answered, you can give it a little thumbs up and it bumps it up the pile, and we get to answer the questions that actually a lot of you have got as well. So it's always where possible, try and use Slido. It'd be very much appreciated. Right, we've got quite a lot of people in there. John and Emma saying hello. Hi guys. Maz, hi.
Hello.
Sup and Katie. Rob and Pippa already having a bit of bants in the chat, which is great. Keep it coming. Right. Let's have a quick look. There's a couple of people saying they're joining late. Fine, that's fine. Right, give it another minute or so. Right. Okie dokes. So. Julie says, what is the code? I'll just put this back up on screen for you before we get started. So yeah, slido.com, and the code is SG Wine Tasting. SG Wine Tasting. Janine, Mandy, and Percy Pig say evening. Debbie and Ali, evening. Mary, hello. Hiya. Right. Wonderful. Right, I think we probably have most people here as well now. Let's get cracking, shall we? Let's get cracking. So, hello everyone. We are Smash Grapes. I'm Dan, and virtually here to my side is Sam. We're going to be taking you tonight's wine tasting. We are Smash Grapes, the good wine company. Good for you, the customer, good for the producers, and good for the planet. We offer kind of slightly more unheard of grape varieties that we think really pack a punch and offer you great value, without getting stuck in that wine rut that so many of us, can find ourselves in. So tonight, obviously, is our Try Before You Buy virtual wine tasting, and it is Spanish themed. So we've got 6 fantastic Spanish wines lined up for you to sample. choose the ones that you enjoy. Hopefully all of them, maybe not, but that's the whole part of tasting these things before you then go onto the store and use those wine tokens that we've sent you in a form of £10 credit to maybe pop onto Smash Grapes and pick yourself up a couple of bottles afterwards. Sam's going to talk us through just how the night will run. But what I would say, get white wine number 1, please. That's the pouch with the yellow background. Wine number 1. Get it poured out in your glass, and don't feel like you need to wait for us to give you permission. This is an evening. We've got 6 glasses of wine to get through, so feel free to make a start. So Sam,
drinking.
Exactly. Do you want to give everyone a bit of a heads up, really, as how the night is going to pan out?
Absolutely, yes. So if you've been to one of our virtual wine tastings before, I say we've only done one or two, but if you've been to one before, you'll know the drill. But if you haven't, and I think that's quite a lot of you, this is not your usual wine tasting. No, we are not going to stand around or sit around and swirl and quaff and sniff and talk about essence of grapefruit and decaying rose petals and 3rd generation vineyards. No, we're going to drink the wine. We're going to decide why we like it. And then we're going to try and identify how we can then go on in the future, whether it be on smashgrapes.co.uk, at the supermarket, wherever you like to buy your wine, and use the knowledge to then go and buy more wine that you're going to enjoy. The reason being is, as Dan said, so many of us really easily, myself included, get stuck into wine ruts. We are trapped in this sort of situation where there's so much variety and so much choice in front of us in the supermarket, and it's all overwhelming, and it's in foreign languages, and it's using technical terms that we don't understand, and there's prices from very, very low to very, very high. And what happens is we just think, Christ, I don't know if I'm going to get a good bottle here, so I'll stick to what I know. And that's a real shame, because actually there is some fantastic wine out there, some unusual grape varieties out there that just don't get a look in due to different things, trends, big marketing budgets from big brands, and various other reasons. And so that's the point of our wine tastings tonight, is to help you to understand, hey, I love this about wine generally. I love this about white wine generally. I love this about red wine generally. Why does this red wine taste like that? And how can I use that information to go and buy more wine that I can guarantee is going to be an enjoyable experience when I crack it open and get home? Because the last thing we want for you guys is to have wine regret when you've spent a little bit of money, maybe a bit more than you usually do, and you get it home, you crack it open, you think, oh shit, this is not for me. So that's what our wine tastings are about. Tonight is a Spanish special. Why did we decide to do a Spanish special? Well, if there is ever a better example of this stuck in a wine rut situation, it's in Spain. I've got a Tesco's garage down the road from me. I often pop in there at short notice to grab a bottle of something. And I was in there the other day, and it really struck me that for a small Tesco's at a petrol station, very nice wine selection. But in terms of Spanish wine, all you can get is Rioja. In fact, in terms of red wine, all you could get was Rioja and a couple of Malbecs. And it's just crazy, because Spain is a huge country. It's one of the largest wine producing countries in the world, and has an amazing variety of grapes, yet we know so little about it. In fact, Rioja for many of us is literally the be all and end all of everything we know about Spanish wine. So the point of tonight is to show you just a little bit more of what's out there. And actually, these 6 wines just touch the surface, but that's what we're going to do. We're going to have a look at some different regions that you probably haven't heard of, maybe some grape varieties you haven't heard of, and see what we think of them, and decide why it is they taste good or bad, depending on your opinion. So that's how it's going to go.
Awesome.
Shall we crack on to wine number 1?
Yeah, let's crack on. Right, so it's going to be wine number 1 then, guys. So this is the one with the yellow label. There you go. Wine 1, little white icon there. Get this one cracked open. I'm going to pop a little. I'm going to put a little poll up on Slido. Just pour it in your glass. Have a little drink. Before we kind of tell you exactly what this one is, it's always nice to just see what you guys are thinking, what you're tasting. Now, one thing we're definitely not going to do on this, and it's not what we believe at Smash Grapes, is tell you should be tasting this, you should be tasting that, you should be getting like a little hint of bergamot peel and all of those. Now, you may pick those up. You may well get them, but actually we'll keep it way more top level, because taste is so subjective. We're just going to say, you know, it's got a citrus vibe, or it's refreshing, it's zingy, it's, you know, it's got some sweetness. We're not, you know, what individual flavors you get is up to you. We're not going to peddle those onto you at all. You just drink it, enjoy, see where you get to. So what have we got coming in? Lemons, grapefruit, peach, citrus. Someone put sweet there as well. You know, it's fresh and clean.
It's got a little bit of a sweetness come through. Tangy, sharp, great.
Yeah.
Licorice. Yeah. Okay. Bit of spicy there.
Yep.
Fantastic. Okay. Shall we talk about what it is then?
Let's have a little look, shall we, Sam? So I'm going to bring up your lovely little slides, and Sam is going to talk us through this wine and what we've got going on here. So to reveal all, here we go.
Okay, so we are off to the north of Spain first, right up in the northwest on the coast, just above Portugal, in a region called Rías Baixas, and it's in a bigger area for that sort of top corner called Galicia, which also is called Green Spain. Green Spain because it's really not like the normal Spain that we think of, you know, hot, sunny beaches and sort of, you know, central Spain being a bit more desert-like. It is very, very green and lush because it's right on the Atlantic Ocean. It has super fertile soils, and it's a really beautiful part of the country. The grape variety there that it is most famous for in Rías Baixas, in fact, in the UK, if you're drinking a wine and it says Rías Baixas, it's almost always going to be this grape variety is Albarino. Albarino, also used just down the road in Portugal for Vinha Verde, which they make literally just over the border, and they call it Alvarinho, but Albarino is the grape variety here. It is a super high acid grape variety, super refreshing, zippy, lemon, citrus, tangy, all of those things that you've got going on the screen there. Rías Baixas, the region, has only actually been noticed as a quality region and given the DO signature for quality that Spain issues to its quality regions only since 1988, but they've been growing grapes there. They've got vines there that are 300 years old, so it really has been off the radar. We're going to go and talk about old vines at some point in the evening. We'll bypass it now, but we'll circle back about old vines and what that means, because we do sometimes see old vines written on the bottle. So Galicia, Green Spain, Rías Baixas, it has an identical climate style to two places that I'm sure if you're into your wine, you're going to know about. That's New Zealand, and it's the Loire Valley in France. Both famous for producing very, very high-end Sauvignon Blanc. And actually with this wine, with Albarino, hopefully you guys, if you're into your Sauvignons, if you're into your high-end Sauvignons, your New Zealand and your Loire Valley, then you're going to be sort of getting those sorts of flavors in there, that citrusiness, a little bit of green herbs, and then that racy high acidity. What do I mean when I talk about acidity? Well, acidity is the thirst-quenching nature of wine. It's the presence of acid from the grapes that grew on the vine that creates sort of thirst quenching sort of flavor, a bit like a cloudy lemonade or a homemade lemonade. You know, it's got the acid of the lemons, which makes it thirst quenching, or a great gin and tonic. That's what acidity is. Now, when it comes to grape growing, acidity and sugar sort of live on a seesaw, on a balance, if you like. That all depends on the weather and the climate of the region. And this actually creates quite a nice scale that you guys can use, whether it's shopping online or shopping in the supermarket, to judge what a wine is going to taste like just based on the weather of where it's come from, or the climate, shall I say, of where it's come from. Don't worry about the grape, just the climate. So, for example, for white wine, let's park red wine until later, but for white wine, they live on a scale from very, very high acid and low sugar, where it's zippy and fresh and refreshing, and then they move up and the acidity goes down and the sugar goes up. And as we move up that scale, we get more peachy, melony sort of flavors. And then as we move up a little bit further, we get maybe mango and tropical fruit flavors. And as we go further up and we've got the sugar really high and the acidity low, not so low that we're talking about dessert wine here. It's still a dry wine in essence. We're not talking about sweet, sickly wines. We're just talking about sugar to acid balance. Then you're getting really tropical pineapple flavors. And as we move up that scale, it's the weather that's changed that. At the bottom, when we were high acid and low sugar, we're talking cool climates, maybe northern Germany, northern France, pretty much close to the UK, and we all know how chilly it is there. As we move up, we might go to sort of, say, New Zealand, where it's slightly warmer, but still quite cool. And then as we move up further, we might go somewhere hotter, like the south of France or northern Spain. And then as we move up there further, the acidity going down and the sugar going up, all because it's had more heat, more sunshine, more ripening time. That's how the flavor of the wine changes and puts it on a scale. So this one, Rías Baixas, we're talking cool climate for Spain, got those lovely Atlantic winds coming in, cooling down the grapes, and that's why we've got high acid and low sugar, which gives that lovely lemony, zippy flavor. And actually, I don't know if anybody has noticed, but you get quite a sort of sherbet lemon fizz to this one. It almost, you might almost like think, is it fizzy? And that's literally just from the presence of so much acid in there. However, what they've managed to do here is maintain a bit of sugar in the grape, and that just balances it out so it's not too sour. But for some people, you might be thinking, yes, Sam, it is too sour, but that just comes down to taste. There's a little bit of sugar in the back there just to balance it out, which makes a fantastic and really drinkable wine. Dan, what do you reckon?
Yeah, really, really like this. And I think one thing for me, as someone who, I was a red man, I didn't really touch white wines at all. And, I was very much, they're too astringent, they're too acid, like, I don't like them. And actually essentially what Sam said to me when we first started this whole crazy thing was, you're just drinking the wrong white wines. Unfortunately, with some of the more mass produced, slightly cheaper scale stuff, they add sugar and acid to balance it out rather than do it on the vine. And actually, yeah, it does give you that like astringent, nail varnish remover kind of vibe. So yeah, I'm really enjoying these. It's when you say high acid, it's things like cloudy lemonade, G&Ts, that kind of refreshment, isn't it? Not white spirits. So
not white spirits. No. And that's all, as you said, that's all down to the farmers, the wine growers, doing it in the field, letting the heat and the natural sunshine do the work. The moment you start trying to become a chemistry artist, putting like powdered acid in and powdered sugar, which goes on a huge amount, it's not illegal or anything dodgy, it just happens. It doesn't even have to be written on the bottle for global standards. The moment that happens, that's when you start getting these sort of, oh, this is too sickly sweet, and oh, this is too sour and astringent. And if it's done well in the field, then it's a great wine. These types of wines, fantastic with white meat for sure. We're in the white wine territory. But one thing that they just go brilliantly with is soft, salty cheeses. Goat's cheese, mozzarella, burrata, feta. Oh my God, fantastic with feta, because they're all very high acid as well. But then they've got that saltiness, and saltiness just always improves wine. Doesn't matter what you're tasting. That's why we put snacks in the box. But yeah, a saltiness, but the acid in those cheeses, they are higher acid because they're young cheeses, they haven't had the acid taken out. That matches the wine really well. So give that style of wine, whether it be Albarino or a nice high acid Sauvignon or Pinot Grigio, try them with those types of cheeses.
So we normally get a lot of questions about, what would you pair this wine with? What would you do with that? Yeah, I've taken the poll off of Slido now. If you've got any questions as we go, whether they're related to the wine we're drinking or whether they're just general questions you've got, I will just cut in and we'll pitch them at Sam, and he can give us his expert opinion on these things. He has certificates and everything, guys. All the info about this wine is up there on screen. And Sam, this is this makes a big deal of an award it's won, doesn't it? This particular wine, and it's something that you see very often on wines in shops. A lovely little award sticker on there. What's this all about?
So this wine has won Mundus Vini Gold. Now, Mundus Vini, and this is one of our pricier wines tonight, and Mundus Vini are a internationally renowned awarding body. And so I would say that sticker does mean something. That means like this wine has been tried and tested by a lot of people, and they don't just look at it from like sort of an individual's point of view, but from lots of different people's point of view. And so it's a great certificate to have on a wine bottle, but to most of us that means nothing. And actually, what I wanted to talk about before we hit number 2, but if you are finished, guys, please pour number 2 straight away, is wine awards and points, because I was doing some market research this week, and I actually read that in terms of us as wine consumers, we find an award on a bottle of wine in the supermarket more important, I think it said, more important than fair trade, more important than organic. It was like right at the top. It was more important than a lot of surprising things. I was quite shocked by that. And actually, the thing to be aware of, guys, well, there's two things: awards and points. Let's hit awards first. The thing about awards is, apart from a few big ones, and there's no point trying to remember them, awards can be bought. Me and Dan actually got an offer to join an awards ceremony only a few weeks ago, and it's like, oh, that's very nice of them to invite us. But they invite everybody, and it's like £600 a ticket to go, and then everybody gets something. And that's really is essentially just buying a sticker to put on your wines, and that's not really for us. So we didn't go, despite the offer of free booze and a meal. 600 seemed a bit steep. So that's awards. So I'd be wary of awards and don't rely on them too much. It's a bit hit and miss. You don't know. But the one thing that I will say to you is points. Oh my gosh, ignore points. So if you see a bottle of wine in the supermarket or online and it says 92 points from Wine Spectator, or 83 points from Roger whoever, or
Decanter, they've got a lot of Decanter neck labels, haven't they?
Yeah, it'll either be the magazine or it'll be an individual wine critic. And even if it's the magazine, it's written by one person. These guys are proper, stuck up, sniffing expensive wine for a living blokes who, essentially, a bit like food critics really, and I don't have a lot of time for them, lord it over people that are trying to sort of make a living by producing something fairly down to earth, and can make or break them with their 93 points or 91 points. It's just their opinion. It's also not a normal person's opinion, because these guys are trying really, really expensive wine all the time, and they become snobbish about wine, and they have their own sort of beliefs about wine. So please don't take points seriously. It's just one person's point of view. That, wine is personal, and actually having it judged by anybody else isn't going to tell you a huge amount about whether or not you're going to enjoy it. What's going to tell you about whether you're going to enjoy it is whether the country it's from, the grape it is, the climate, like I've already said, the things that you can then translate back to what you like.
Amazing. Right. So yeah, get yourself get that glass finished. We're going to move on to white wine number 2. So again, pouch with your yellow wine sticker. That's it. Wine 2. Right. We are. Let's have a quick look here. Okay, here's a question that's coming from Chris. Keep these coming in. Great. Where do we sit when it comes to price point versus quality?
Oh, that's a good one.
Great.
That is a good one.
Great question.
Yeah. So the whole sort of pricing and wine versus quality in wine is actually pretty straightforward. I didn't really learn about it until quite a long time into the industry. Part of my career, I worked at Gordon Ramsay's in his restaurants. Less said about him, the better. But I worked under a master sommelier, a Spanish guy actually from the Basque region between France and Spain, master of wine, been doing his craft for 50 years. And he told me that in the context of a restaurant, and so this is restaurant prices, anybody who pays more than 30 to 40 pound for a bottle of wine, if they just want to enjoy a tasty wine, is a fool. But if we bring that back to retail, to what we're talking about this evening, it's in the same ballpark. So if you take the average price that UK pays for a bottle of wine, about £6 and a bit, £6.09, but obviously we know there's a lot of fivers out there. There's even there's bloody £3.50 out there. Straight away, £2.50 is lost to duty and VAT. So that's half your bottle of wine gone. By the time you take away the logistics, the glass bottle itself, and all those other bits and bobs to get it to you, you're left with anywhere between sort of 50 and 90 pence worth of juice in the bottle. Okay, so you've got to ask yourself, what sort of value for money am I getting if this poor bloke in a field in Spain has, trudged all year to create this fantastic product, but he has to sell it at 90p a litre or something like that? How great is it going to be? Or not just how great is it going to be, but how well has he been treated, the people that work for him, or whatever, the sustainability of the whole thing, but ultimately also like how great is that product going to be for you to drink? If we move up the scale to £7, £8, £9 and £10 a bottle, all of those things that I just talked about, the fixed prices, the £2.50, stay the same. In fact, it doesn't matter if you're drinking a £500 bottle of wine. Tax, the duty, the price of the glass bottle, give or take, there are some posher glasses out there, all stay the same. So for that, up to that £10 mark, you can actually increase the value of the juice in your bottle 4 or 5 times fold to about £2.5 to £3.5 worth of juice in an £8 bottle of wine, compared with that 50 to 90p's worth of juice in your £5 to £6 bottle of wine. A massive increase, massive increase. Now that increase tapers off. And actually what me and Dan have found is actually once you get into the retail, this is in the supermarket, 15, maybe stretching up to 20, but 15, 16, 17, the quality continues to increase because they're able to do more sustainable things, better practices in the vineyard, and the costs stay the same, so you get fantastic value for money. Anything over 20, and you are 100% paying for reputation, heritage, branding, logo, big marketing budget. My example for that, champagne. What all you're paying for there is a marketing budget, because the juice in the bottle hasn't changed after £20. So that's a long answer to the question, but we tend to say between £6, £7, £8 and £9, up to 10, but really try and stay in the 8 to 10.
Yeah, ideal. Right, keep the questions coming in. We will keep moving through. So wine 2 in your glasses now, please. Wine 2. Let's have a little taste again before we go on to giving you a bit of information. The Slido poll is back live. What are you getting on this one? I think I've seen a couple of comments on Instagram. Obviously, one thing I would love to say actually as well is if you sat there, you've got your snacks, you've got your wines, you're watching. If you can take a couple of pictures for us and share it, that'd be great. Get the word out. But also in a few days' time, you're going to receive an email from our website asking you to give us a review of the tasting. We'd love to know anything good, bad, ugly. And if you include a photo on there as well, you will get yourself a little 15% off code just for taking the time to do that. So do grab yourselves a quick picture. It'd really mean a lot. So fuller body, smoky, zesty, goes down too quick. Absolutely. This is one of my favourite whites that you've definitely opened my eyes to. Remember, yellow label, wine 2, with the little white wine icon here.
Okay, so
what have we got?
We're moving
peaches. Big melons. Big melons.
Big melons. So we're moving down this western side of Spain now to Rueda. Rueda is the region, Dio Rueda. So again, it's a classified quality region with the Dio sort of signature, Rueda. It's on the Douro River actually, which just for a bit of geography for you, the Douro River runs horizontally across Spain into Portugal, across the middle of Portugal, and it's the Douro River in Portugal where all of their wine is grown. And then when it gets to the sea, it's at Porto, the home of port. So it's all connected, all just down the river. But Rueda is the region, and the grape that you guys are drinking right now is Verdejo. Verdejo. So Verdejo is indigenous to Spain. It's been around in Spain for a very, very long time. Thousands of years, most likely. It is a born and bred Spanish grape. That's actually quite difficult to say for many grape varieties because we go back so far, you just don't know where they're from. We're in the sort of flat plains of Spain here, the agricultural land, if you like. And the thing about Rueda is that it's basically either hot as hell or very, very cold at night time. But actually, that is fantastic for grape growing. And the sort of hot to cold situation is a thing called diurnal change in the wine industry. And basically what that means is that you blast grapes with heat in the day so that they ripen and develop those sugars and bring the acidity down. But at night time, you rapidly cool them back down again so that you maintain some of the acidity and you don't essentially burn it all off. And diurnal change is something that all the best winemakers look for. They might use mountains to achieve it, like in Chile. They might use the ocean breezes to achieve it, like in California. And in this case, it's just because of the coastal area, the rivers, the valleys, and then the fact that it goes so hot, so cold at night that they manage to achieve this. And that's where you get great quality wine. So Verdejo, it is basically the Sauvignon Blanc of Spain. It's so similar in very, very many ways. If you're a Sauvignon drinker, hopefully you should be enjoying this. It went out of favor for a very, very long time in Spain, when actually sherry style wine was being made. But in the 70s, it sort of became more popular again as consumers like got into Sauvignon Blanc and Chardonnay, and those big sort of famous grapes, if you like, came to the fore. Spanish started making Verdejo, and people loved it. But we don't see enough of it over here. If you see a bottle with Rueda Verdejo written on it, it technically only has to have 85% Verdejo by law in it. The rest could be Sauvignon Blanc, but generally it's 100%. And if you see a bottle of white in your supermarket or online that just says Rueda, the region Rueda on it, then it's most likely up to 50% Sauvignon Blanc and the rest Verdejo, but again, a blend. So if you see Rueda and you can't see a grape anywhere, but you like this style that you're drinking tonight, go with it, because it's probably the same style of wine. So what is the Sauvignon Blanc style? Well, it's the acidity again, but we're getting a bit of a fruity oomph, maybe some grapefruit or something, a bit zesty, and that sort of a greener flavor as well, that herby greenness, which is sort of very much associated with your New Zealand Sauvignon Blancs. The winery that makes this wine, Alvarez and Diaz, they were one of the first to sort of produce this style, this sort of crisp, refreshing style. And the vines there are also very, very old. So now's a good opportunity to talk about old vines. They're about 100 years old, the plants here. So why is old wines important? You sometimes see it written on bottles. You might see it written in English, old vine. You might see it written in French, Vin Vieil, and that sort of thing. Old vines, what does it mean? Well, basically, the thing about good winemaking is actually you want your vines to struggle. That's why actually barren soils are very good and harsh weather conditions are very good. You want the vine to get down into the ground and struggle to get nutrients, because then when it does come round to producing fruit, instead of making lots of fruit with no flavor, it makes just a little bit of fruit with more concentrated flavor. And when a vine gets older, it tends to do that more. So really, really old vines make less fruit with more concentration, and that's where you want to be. So seeing old vines written on a bottle of wine doesn't necessarily mean you're on for a winner, because obviously there's lots of other factors, but it is a good step in the right direction, because basically what they're saying is we're not going to produce as much of this stuff, but what we do produce is great quality.
A couple of questions come in. Obviously, a lot of people just looking at the flavors before, a lot of melon, a lot of peach, which is what we're expecting. Few people as well, could tell it felt a bit fuller, and yes, wine drinking is one of the times when the advice is to work up the body. So yeah, we would always start on something light and we'll move up as we go. If you've got a couple of bottles knocking about, and you're gonna drink a few different things, you've got some people coming around for a bit of a party, always take a look at where they sit on the scale of body and drink the lightest ones first, because if you start off on a heavy, go light, it's going to completely ruin the flavour and you won't get a proper sense of it. And we get asked all the time. The light
will taste like water.
Exactly. We get asked this a lot of time, what is body? What does it mean? And what we often offer up to people is it's that just the mouthfeel. It's that difference between blue, green, and red milk. Your red milk being light, it's kind of not got as much to it, and your blue coating your mouth, feeling full. It's the same liquid, but it's just got these different feels to it. So that's what we mean by body as well. B and Mark say this one tastes fizzy. Again, that just comes back to it being having quite a decent bit of acid. Snacking cheese brings a whole different mix out. It's definitely. How can you tell? Well, we'll talk about there's some questions about when wine is corked or oxidized. We'll come on to that. But John and Emma, just fundamental question: why are red wine bottles predominantly green and white wine bottles transparent? Like why? Darker glass on a red wine, lighter on a white. Why is that?
Yeah, that's down to a thing called light strike. So basically, UV light too much exposure to UV light can actually damage the flavor of wine, but it particularly, what it attacks, I mean, I don't know the science, but what it attacks is the phenolins in the wine, which come from the skin and produce tannin. And there's more of them in red than there is in white. In fact, sometimes there's none in white. There's a little bit in rosé. So it's not an issue so much for white wines. It's very difficult to give a white wine light strike. I mean, you know, a few years in the window of a shop and it'll be ruined, but it's quite difficult to give it light strike. But with red wine, it's not particularly difficult. So like if you're in the habit, I mean, who would be, but if you are in the habit of sticking wine on a window ledge somewhere, especially red, then it's not going to be great for it. And that's why they have the darker tinted glass.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Right. Get wine 2 finished and drunk, and we're going to move on to wine 3 now. White wine 3 has the pink label and is actually a rosé wine. So you'll see you've got the little middle glass on your sticker there with a nice little pinky wine in. So get that one poured. You can use your white wine glass. Get that poured in there as well. Right.
Love to know what you think of the pouches, guys. So this is our first trip out with the pouches. Basically, we started with plastic bottles, and it just didn't fit with our sort of eco vibe, and the fact that we do want to do this business as sustainably as possible. They also looked like doctor's samples, so didn't look great. But yeah, these are a lot better. They've reduced our shipping, the impact of carbon on our shipping. They're recyclable as well. But we'd love to know what you think of them. Just any feedback. This is all new to us. We haven't been doing this very long, and any bit of feedback we would absolutely appreciate.
Yeah, and we got a couple of notes from you guys. I know that some of you received your boxes in absolutely pristine condition. Some of them we had a little bit of leakage on the pouch. Say, as Sam said, it was the first time we've used these, so some lessons to be learned there for sure. But yeah, those pouches are fully recyclable. We will send you the information afterwards. But essentially, you return them to us, and we're working with the specialist manufacturer to completely recycle them 100%. And for the effort of returning them to us, what we'll do is we credit your account with a couple of quid's worth of wine tokens to cover the stamp and an envelope just to send it back on to us. So yeah, we'll send you that information afterwards. There's a couple of comments as well. Just about the wines and, how do we find them, all of that. When we have our little break after wine 3, I will show you how to cash in your wine tokens and just where the wines that we're drinking tonight all live, so that you can take a little look for yourself after this. So, number 3 then, Sam. Number 3, very blushy. Very, very blushy.
Yes,
lovely
I've thrown
colour.
in a curveball.
Yeah,
thrown in a
lovely
curveball.
colour. Let's just launch the poll on this one again. I know a lot of people. Rosé's a bit hit and miss. It's a bit Marmite with a lot of people, but we're just going to throw it in. Just get your opinion, and it's Spanish rosé, this one as well.
Love to know what you think about this, guys. On the what are you tasting, as well about the smell. It's got a weird smell. It's got an unusual smell.
Aniseed,
it's really
definitely.
Yeah. I think it reminds me of
sweeties.
Do you remember? Yeah. Do you remember fruit salads? Red and yellow and pink sweet. That's what it reminds me of, I think.
A few people saying vanilla. People saying that number 3 they're really enjoying. Honey, smooth, refreshing. Strawberries, honey. Yeah. No, a lot of people voting now vanilla.
We'll come to the vanilla.
Yeah,
that's been well spotted by you guys, and I'll talk about where that comes from.
Yeah.
Smells like paint.
It has got a weird smell.
Yeah,
Definitely
it's got a weird smell. This is the Marmite wine, guys. I'm not, thought I'd throw in a curveball. I don't want to make it too easy for you. I don't want you to enjoy yourselves.
Absolutely. Right, so come on then, Sam. Let's have a little wander through number 3, which is of course a rosé wine.
It is a rosé, Addalo Rosado. Rosado being the Spanish word for rosé. It doesn't even say what the grape is on the bottle. You have to do a little bit of investigatory work. But the grape variety is Syrah or Shiraz. I'm sure we've all heard of Shiraz. If you've not heard of Syrah, if you're a bit unsure about Syrah as a word, it's the same thing, just different languages. So it's Syrah originally. The French call it Syrah. That's where it was born. But I think it was the Australians that really coined Shiraz as their own name. In fact, the Australians have come up with their own much easier to pronounce words for most grape varieties. They like to keep it simple. But yes, this is a Shiraz Rosé, which is pretty rare to see. If you have tried a Shiraz Rosé, I would be surprised, but fantastic if you have. And this Shiraz Rosé hails from Huelva in Andalusia. So we've traveled all the way down the west of the country, sort of down the back of Portugal, and we're now in Andalusia, right at the bottom left corner. The deep south of Spain, right on the Atlantic coast. Andalusia is the home of Jerez, the main city or town that produces sherry. We talked about it a tiny bit earlier, but basically sherry is a massive export for Spain. And just in case you're a bit unsure about sherry, I know lots of people are like sherry, port, I don't know, brandy. What's the difference? Well, sherry is oxidized wine, so they have to make a wine first, as we know it, and then it oxidizes. It essentially is left to go off, because oxidization is exactly what will happen to your wine if you leave it open on the kitchen side. But they do it in a controlled way to produce different flavors, and that's what sherry is. We should do sherry at some point, because actually it sounds horrendous and many of them taste awful, but there are some fantastic ones out there if you know what to go for. And it's actually my favorite drink at Christmas, but that's for another time. Andalusia has been the gateway to the Mediterranean for basically as far back as the ancient Greeks. So it's had wine in its veins for a very, very long time. They're producing wine for a long time. And in fact, it's got the earliest records of shipping wine to the Americas, the West Indies and stuff like that back in the 1500s. But it is famous for sherry. So the table wine, still wine, that we drink, it basically never makes it to the UK. It's rarely exported. So when I saw a rosé from Andalusia, I was like, got to give this a crack. And especially as it's Shiraz. Why is it unusual for Shiraz to be in a rosé? Well, rosé is made from grapes that produce red wine, because actually what they do, instead of leaving the skins on for a long time to create a red wine, they leave the skins in for a little time to just give it a hint of red. So it's a hint of rosé. They generally use quite delicate grapes to do that. Shiraz is the beast of the red grape variety. It can survive the desert. It has meaty, rich, chunky, peppery, spicy flavors when it's a red wine. We're thinking like Côte d'Aron, Châteauneuf-du-Pape, Barossa Valley, which is basically a desert in Australia. This is an absolute beefcake of a red wine. And they've decided to make rosé out of it, which is really weird, but actually I quite like it. So it's not what you expect. It's full of flavor, it's chunky, there is a spiciness to it. It's got a weird flowery flavor, which makes you think, come here, I'm going to be gentle to you. But actually, there's quite a lot going on, and it packs a real punch. I do think you're going to have this pretty chilled. Mine's warmed up in the office here, and it's not as enjoyable. You've got to have it nice and chilled just to take the edge off that beast, because chilling a wine does take the edge off the flavor. And it's also had a thing called lees aging, and that you guys were talking about vanilla. What's lees aging? That's L-E-E-S, lees. Lees is the term that we use for the yeast that goes into wine, which eats the sugar, turns it into alcohol. Well, basically, when the yeast dies, which is either because it's eaten all the sugar or because they change the temperature in the vat, it dies, stops the alcohol making process, settles down to the bottom, and is filtered out at some point. But with lees aging, what they do is leave the yeast in for a little while, maybe stir it up a bit, get it flowing around there for any amount of time, but it adds this lovely, creamy, vanilla-y, dairy-like flavor to wines. It's not massive, we're not talking about double cream in a glass here, but it adds another texture to the wine. And like what Dan was talking about earlier about body and texture, it's that mouthfeel, that difference between drinking skimmed milk or your full fat milk. And that's what the lees aging in this wine does. And that's pretty unusual for rosé as well, because generally, certainly in the UK, we consume rosé that's crisp, refreshing, high acid, low sugar, done and dusted, whereas this is more sugar, more robust, more body. The lees aging as well makes a real chunky beast of a wine. Love to know what you guys think.
Yeah, there was a lot of people saying not entirely sure if I like it first time, but I think what you need to do is, you know, have a couple of sips. You know, you come back to things. Don't write something off the first time. You know, come back to it. A lot of love for your passion about port and sherry. There, a few people saying let's do a port tasting.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, we're all up for those kind of things. A lot of love for the pouches as well. I know a few people say there was had a bit of a box and few bits of seepage, but we'll work on that, make sure that's sorted for any future. So yeah, no, it's good. Glad to hear that you're on board with, you know, with these. It's definitely a direction that we want to go long term. Let's have a quick look. Can you attach a straw to the pouch so I can pretend it's a Capri Sun at work? Says Pippa.
That could be the $1 million. That could be it, couldn't it? We could be sailing off in the sunset. Put a straw on one of these. Get them in the supermarkets. That's it. We're away.
We could do. But can you make them bigger? Yes, absolutely. They are quite deceptive. They hold just as much as the little plastic bottles that we did, but because of the way they're so thin. And they expand. Actually, they seem like there's not a great deal in there, but you do have a full serving. How can you tell when a red wine's oxidized or corked? Because I know that white wines go vinegary. That's coming from Debbie and Ali.
Okay, so oxidized and corked are two different things that have two distinct smells or flavors if you're trying to investigate whether they are or not. So oxidized is the presence of oxygen, basically oxidized presence of oxygen. So that means, you know, you've opened the bottle, oxygen's got in there and it oxidizes the wine. And that is vinegar. That is vinegar. And it's the same with red wine. It will go tangy, vinegary, sort of, sharp, and a bit sort of not great. But actually, oxidizing doesn't happen very much because, well, I don't, and what am I saying? I drink too much wine. It doesn't happen in my house because it never stays in the bottle that long. But what can happen is being corked. And that is basically because the cork, which is put in the top of the bottle of wine, expands and stops air getting in. It fails. It has a little hole in it or something like that. And it lets air into the bottle. And that basically doesn't go vinegary. It goes like moldy, damp cardboard and mildew sort of flavor. And that is actually more common if you drink wine with a cork in it than oxidization, because let's face it, who lets their wine hang around long enough to be oxidized?
No, absolutely. But, you know, if you are one of these crazy people that has wine left at the end of a night, really good point. You know, something for me with red wine specifically as well is if you open something on a Sunday with your dinner and know that, you know, I'm trying not to drink on a Monday or a Tuesday, pop the cork back in it or screw the cap on, but even if it's red, bung it in the fridge. It'll last a whole lot longer if you keep it chilled and in a fridge. And then just bring it out on the Wednesday morning so it comes back up to temperature, ready to drink it on on a happy hump day on a Wednesday. It's definitely a good way to just give your wines that little bit more time. Couple of other questions. Is the Verdeo grape in number 2 the same as they use in a Madeira wine?
No, I'm glad you grabbed that one, Dan, because I was going to if you weren't. Verdelho, which the Anonymous has mentioned there, is not Verdeo. So Verdeo with the J and Verdelho with an LH are not the same thing. Yet you're right that Verdelho is the grape that is used to make Madeira wine, and it's also used to make some fantastic still wine, but it's not the same as Verdeo. They're not even related in any way.
Very good. And then just a question about in the Canary Islands, how does volcanic ash add or detract quality compared to this region?
Oh God, we're getting a bit highbrow now, aren't we? We're only 3 wines in. I'm not ready for this sort of stuff. Yeah. All soil types mean different things for wine. It's a little bit to do with nutrients, and people think, it sucks up the flavor of soil, but actually that's only a small percentage. It's mostly about drainage. The first thing is about drainage, because water, the relationship between water, the rain and stuff, and grapes is very, very important, because if a grape vine sucks up too much water, it gets watered down, which is the last thing a winemaker wants. In fact, rains just before the harvesting season is an absolute nightmare for that reason. So well draining soil is very, very popular thing, or a thing that people look out for. If it's not drainage, then it's heat reflection, because the second biggest problem for grapevines is getting moldy because they're damp. And mildew can, basically write off an entire harvest and destroy your business. And so that's, for a start, why we put them up on trellises, to get airflow under. But actually how the soil or the stones or the volcanic ash in this example reflects heat back up underneath them, and dries them out, is really important. Now, I couldn't tell you specifically what the properties of volcanic ash are, but it will be to do with drainage, heat reflection, and those aspects, rather than getting a flavour of volcano in your wine.
And then someone's just picked up on the comment I made about bringing the wine back out on a Wednesday morning. What, for breakfast? No. What I'm saying is, if you put
cornflakes.
Yeah. If you're putting a red wine in the fridge to make it last a few more days before you crack into it, I was saying bring it out in the morning just so that it's not cold when you drink it. Let it come up to temperature. Right, we're going to move on to our red wines now. So I've grabbed myself a fresh glass, had a quick swig of water. You can use this your next glass now for all three reds. Obviously, we're going to start on wine 1. But before we do that, I'm just going to show you very quickly how you go about claiming your wine tokens for this evening. So as part of the package for this Try Before You Buy, we have put on all of your accounts £10 worth of wine tokens for each pack that you've bought. So if you bought 2, or some of you out there bought 4, having some friends around, having a party, each one of them will give you £10 worth of points of wine tokens. Now, wine tokens are the Smash Grape equivalent of club card points. All right? We all know the concept of a club card point. Whenever you spend on the store, you earn points. When you give us a quick like on Facebook, share something, all of that, it all earns you tokens. And I'm going to show you now, just very quickly, how you can go about claiming them for this evening. So let me bring this up. So you head over to smashgrapes.co.uk. You all know that because you've bought the tasting packs. Up here on the right, I'm doing it on a desktop. It's exactly the same process on mobile. Got a lovely little person icon here. You're going to click on this little person icon in the top corner, and that's going to take you to log in. Now, if you don't have an account yet, you just need to create one. The link at the bottom here, create, and just make sure that the email you use is the email address that you bought tonight's wine tasting with. So it has to be linked to that, because that's how we add the tokens to your account. So you're going to sign in. Once you sign in, it's going to show you this account portal. Now, it'll show you orders, addresses. If you've got one of our subscriptions, you'll be managing it here. But actually, what we're really interested in is this bottom right here, this little wine tokens icon. Now, on mobile, you just see the little star, but on desktop, you see wine tokens as well. So you're going to open this up, and it's going to bring up a little portal. So you will see here your wine token balance, a bit like exactly your club card points. And here it will tell you the reward level that you're at. So at a bare minimum, it should say £10 off coupon, because if you bought 1 pack, you have £10 worth of tokens. So you're going to click view, redeem, and it's going to give you a little code there that you can use at checkout. So then when you go on to purchase your wines, you'll be able to use that code to get your £20, your £10, £15, whatever it is you have, whatever it is you've redeemed there, to earn your tokens. It also emails you the code so you can use it further down the line. So you don't have to do it there and then. And then every time you're in, it will have your token available, and you can see, get your codes, etc. Just while we're in here, really a great thing I just wanted to show you as well is we've got a referral program. So, we're on a mission to get everyone drinking good wine. And this little referral section down here in the wine tokens allows you to share it with your friends to get £20 off their first order. Because I'm on a computer, I've got WhatsApp, Twitter, email. I can copy and paste it. If I was doing this on my phone, I'd also have WhatsApp, text message, those kind of things. Now, when your friends then go on and get £20 off their order and are like, great, I've got £20 worth of free wine, as a thank you, we give you £20 off as well. So great way to get yourself some free wine there. So again, wine tokens, get yourself logged in, and what you're going to do is click on this redeem section here, or if you're into the referrals, you use the section down there. Dead straightforward. At the end, I'll show you how we go about finding all the wines for tonight. But Sam, let's crack on then. Red wine number one. Red wine number one. We're going code red.
Red number
everyone.
one.
We're going code red. That's it. So yeah, avoidance of doubt. 1, 2, 3 with a green background. These are your red wines. I'll put this cork back in the bottle a little bit vigorously. There we go. Right. Okay. Let's have a little pour of this one.
Really squeeze that pouch out. Make sure you got it all.
Get it all out. That's it. Right, gonna relaunch the poll. Remember, feel free to throw questions in. You know, we've had a couple of drinks now at this point. Inhibitions have become a little bit lower. Ask anything you want to know about wine. You know, we love to interrupt Sam when he's in flow. It's one of my favourite pastimes. So, red wine number one. Here we go. And I know Julian, Stephen, you know, red wine fans, this is the point where you're going to be able to now get involved with all of these wines. Went for an all red pack, so I hope you're enjoying them so far. Right, what have we got going on here? Vanilla, someone's come straight in with.
Somebody loves vanilla, don't they?
Big fans.
Berries, good. Yeah, love
berries. Yep. Right. Let's have a look. What do we got? Yeah. Very thick.
Very thick.
Thick. Okay, yep. Cool.
Thick. So I'm talking about body there, I guess. Yeah.
Yep.
Certainly after the two whites and the rosé, you know, we're going straight up there.
Absolutely.
I also
absolutely. Dry, you know, fruity, getting all that. Like, yeah. Okay. Right. So, what have we got? What are we looking at here then, Sam? What are we saying?
So, for the first red wine tonight, we are going to one of mine and Dan's favourite parts of the winemaking world, Castilla-La Mancha. Castilla-La Mancha is this big central plateau just underneath Madrid. It's the heart, it's the central part of Spain. It's massive. It's a huge wine region, one of the biggest wine regions within a country there is in the world. And it makes fantastic wine. For us, it is the essence of Spanish winemaking. They produce really rustic, easy drinking, no holds barred, no snobbery, proper wine. You go down there, you're going to see the guy making wine, plough being pulled by a donkey, the kids are squashing the grapes by foot. It's proper rustic winemaking, and but it's wine for drinking. He's only making it purely because he enjoys drinking it himself, you know, and they have it with every meal. And that's what I love about La Mancha. So you'll sometimes see it called Castilla, as in castle. You'll sometimes see it called La Mancha. You'll sometimes see it called Castilla-La Mancha. There are some actual technical differences between where they are within the greater area. Don't worry about that. Castilla-La Mancha, La Mancha. And we are drinking this evening from La Mancha. Tempranillo is the grape variety. Tempranillo. What is Tempranillo? Well, Tempranillo is the #1 red grape produced in Spain. They produce no more red than Tempranillo. Why is that? Well, its biggest and sort of most famous purpose is it is the main red grape variety in Rioja. So Rioja is also on the map, not just up the road, significantly up the road from La Mancha. Little tiny region, but produces huge amounts of red wine, and as I said at the very beginning, dominates the Spanish wine industry. But it is mostly Tempranillo. It does blend with other grape varieties, normally Rioja. I'm going to come to those in a bit, but Tempranillo is generally what Rioja is based on. And actually, in my opinion, you can find better examples of Tempranillo from many other places in Spain, especially La Mancha. Tenido are the winemakers here. They've been doing it since 1742. We're talking proper, old family operation. Tempranillo, if you don't know it and you want to compare it to somewhere else, it's a medium grape variety, very, very similar to Merlot. I always say medium Merlot. It's very medium. What do I mean by that? Well, in terms of its body, that's its weight in the mouth, and its thickness, it is on the medium level. Now, I know a few people were like, oh, it's thick, body, heavy, but actually what I've done to you, I've been a bit naughty. We've gone straight from whites to the middle of the scale. We could have had a lighter one first, maybe like a Pinot Noir to step, but we've not. We've gone straight in at medium. So it is medium. It's not full-bodied, but it's just a bit of a shock after the rosé. But it's a medium body. It's medium alcohol, so you're not going to see it like it's a 15% beast or 14.5% beast. It's probably more in the 13-ish region. Medium in acidity, so sort of a light refreshment, medium in sugar. It's a medium grape variety. Well, what does that mean, Sam? Well, it makes it a great all-rounder, just like Merlot. That's why Merlot is so popular. Chilean Merlot, French Merlot, very, very popular. It's a great all-rounder because it doesn't offend anybody. But actually, if you're going to go medium in life, and I'm not saying you should, I 100% recommend that you do it with Tempranillo and not Merlot, because it just gives you a little bit more for your money. Really like soft, dark, plummy fruits, silky smooth. The tannins are a bit grippy on this one. Again, after having that rosé, the tannins are a bit grippy. What do I mean by that? And it's that dry feeling. Somebody said dry on the Slido. It's that sort of dryingness of the gums that the tannins produce. And tannins come from chemicals in the skins and seeds of grapes. You don't get it in white wine because the skins are taken out very early. But in red wine, the skins are left in to provide the color. And that's where tannin comes from. And that's creating that sort of grippiness. But actually on a scale, it's in the medium area. So yeah, soft, plummy, sort of rich dark fruits, berries, that sort of thing. Fantastic all-rounder. No oak in this, and we'll talk more about oak later, but this is just raw Tempranillo on its own. The thing about Rioja is there's a tendency to just pile loads of oak in on top just to say you have and put the price up. We'll go back to that in a bit, but this is just 100% Tempranillo and fantastic. It's a fantastic grape to have on the table at parties and that sort of thing, where you want everybody to be happy and you don't want to blow their socks off with an absolute beast. And at the same time, you don't want anything too insipid. It's a fantastic all-rounder. It's also, by the way, called Tinta Roriz in Portugal, which is the main grape variety used in making port. What do we reckon?
A lot of people enjoying it. Would go really lovely with a steak. And I think, in general, the rule, as Sam mentioned, red wine is full of tannins, which come from those skins and seeds. And actually, protein in red meats help break those down and really smooth everything out. So, any red wine, especially some of your really, really big bolshy ones, are gonna benefit by going with a bit of red meat. Karen and Neil, should red wines ever be served chilled? Are there certain types that improve when they're cold? Get asked this quite a lot as well.
Yeah, we do. I don't know about improve, because I do think that's sort of down to taste. But ultimately, with whatever you're drinking, whether it be white, rosé, or red, chilling it mutes flavors. It does mute the flavors. It brings them down. It makes them not as powerful. Now, like we talked about with those high acid whites, like the Albarino, actually, if you're finding the high acid too sour, then chilling it will mute that, and you might find it more enjoyable. With red wines, what tends to happen is with the lighter red grape varieties, and when I say lighter, I mean lighter in body. For example, Pinot Noir, they can actually be quite high in those tannins, in those bitter polyphenol tannins from the skin and stuff. And again, the chilling will just soften that. So what you've got is a red wine that's quite light in body and texture in the mouth, similar to a rosé maybe. And also the tannins are being brought down by the chill. And then all of a sudden it becomes quite a light, refreshing, almost summer drinking experience. So somebody just said, feels like a good Gamay. So Gamay is a great example of a very, very light grape variety that actually you can have chilled, because it's got lots of nice fruits, but the tannins are a bit rough, and actually a little bit of chill sort of takes the edge off that. But it's down to taste, really. Try it with different wines. But what I would say is chilling like a big beastie sort of Cote de Rhone, Chateauneuf de Pape, or Australian Shiraz. What you'll find is the fruit and the tannin will go down, but the acid and the alcohol will be left behind, and it will not be a pleasant experience. So it's better at the lighter red end of the scale.
Yeah. John and Emma weren't fans at first, but have just opened a Stilton cheese, and that's really kind of muted it and you know, that sharpness. So yeah, I think ultimately, you know, sometimes, you know, when you especially do ones that are specifically food and wine pairings, you know, you'll be asked to take a little drink, have something to eat, take a little drink. One of the reasons why, you know, we like to put olives in is obviously, you know, they've got a saltiness and a bitterness that actually will just alter and enhance the flavors in wine. And if you're ever wondering what to eat when you're drinking something, we've got, you know, and again, it's just this whole world of pairings that we don't know. Very, very simple thing to try and remember is what grows together goes together. So, you know, where a wine is from, you know, a wine will have been developed alongside the dish that is famous in that region. So, you know, the local food with the local wine from that particular region would pretty much be a good shout to go with. Chris jumping in there, you know, yeah, great with the olives. Really enjoyed it. Probably worth at this point, Sam. Obviously, when we were going over the white wines, you talked about just being able to judge something based on the weather and you know, and the climate, the heat. What heat is going to mean, and we had that kind of high acid, low sugar, citrus up to the more bold stuff. Same is applicable with your red wines if you want to make a weather judgment. So do you want to just take us through that before we move on to the next one?
Absolutely. So we talked about the white wine scale, where we go from cold climate equals high acid, refreshing. Hot climate means tropical fruit, lower acid, high sugar. Now for red wine, it has a very similar scale, where again, you can apply the same reasoning, and that is on the cooler climate, we're talking about high acid again and low sugar, and so therefore there's going to be generally lighter tannins, but that can be a little bit high. But the red wines that tend to be sort of lighter fruit flavors, so we're talking red fruits, maybe a bit of strawberry, raspberry, cherry, cranberry is quite a common one at that end, sort of a bitter red fruit flavor. And then as we move up the scale and we get into a warmer climate, so let's say we started there in Germany, Spätburgunder is Pinot Noir in Germany, a light red wine. Then we move into France, southern France, we might move into Bordeaux, we're getting a bit warmer, and there will develop into, rather than red fruit flavors, we're going to move into dark fruit flavors. So as the acidity goes down, the sugar goes up because it's had more sunshine and heat. We're talking less about raspberry and cranberry, and we're talking more about sort of plummy blackberry sort of flavors. As we progress into the really hot, you know, Barossa Valley in Australia or South Africa, for example, we got loads of sugar because we're super hot. Acidity is almost down at its very lowest, just a little bit left. Then we go into these rich, jammy flavors, cooked fruit, like you know, a crumble or something like that, where the fruit's been stewed and you've got those rich caramelized sugars coming to the fore. So have a think to yourself, like, what red wines do I like? Do I enjoy those rich, deep, dark fruit flavors? Or do I like the sort of lighter, sort of cranberry sauce style, slight bitterness? If you like that cranberry sauce, raspberry sort of high acid fruits, then you want to look for colder countries. And if you love that rich, dark, sort of jammy sort of flavor, which is very much in vogue at the moment, then you want to look for hotter countries. And that is essentially how you can decipher what a wine is going to be like just by the weather in the country, without knowing the grape or anything about what's written on the bottle. And it's really useful.
You know, Manchego cheese would be great with this. Salted cured meats. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, anything with a bit of salt in, again, it's just going to make any wine taste good. So, you know, always reach for the salty snacks when you're putting the nibbles out for a bit of a wine night. Right, get number one out of your glasses then, please, everyone. We're going to move on to red wine number 2. Now, red wine number 2 has featured in Smash Grapes before, but I know that a lot of you are kind of new in town, which is amazing. So hopefully it will be new for a fair few of you. This is also a limited production run wine. So every other wine tonight we can get more of. You know, we'll be able to get more. Wine number 2 is essentially a when it's gone.
Get it while it's hot.
Yeah, it's a limited production run, so it's yeah. If this is a fave, I would not hang about, is what I would just say for you.
And the price is ridiculous. The price is so good for this wine.
Yeah, right.
It's just
so,
fantastic.
Sam, what are we dealing with here then on red wine number 2? Let me launch the poll, see what people are saying.
Yeah, get your thoughts in there, guys. Don't be shy.
Again, these things are so much better when we get this two-way going. So yeah, come on, please get
your thoughts in there. So we talked about Rioja earlier. We talked about Tempranillo being the primary grape found in Rioja. So let's just circle back to that, because that might sort of be news to people. Yes, Rioja is not a grape variety. It is a region in Spain. But the problem is it's become so famous in its own right that actually we don't know what grapes are in it. So we don't look at it like New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc or Chilean Merlot. We just look at it as Rioja. That's because the old school method, the old world method of labeling wine, doesn't require them to put the grape variety on there. And they sort of assume that you know, because it's a famous region with hundreds of years of history, that you'll know what the grapes are in there. But Rioja is almost always a blend. In fact, I think it's always a blend. We said it starts with Tempranillo, and there are 2 other red grapes that go into Rioja as well, and they are Garnacha, or Grenache, as it's known in France, but Garnacha is the Spanish name, big favourite grape variety of ours.
Yep.
And Graciano. Graciano is the other red grape variety found in Rioja. Just a quick mention, you've got white Rioja as well, which is a blend of different grapes. We won't go into that now, we'll talk about that another time. But yeah, so red Rioja and white Rioja. Rioja is the place, the region, the area, and actually they are a blend of grapes. And the red is Tempranillo, Garnacha, and Graciano. That brings us on to this wine, which is in fact a blend of Graciano and Garnacha. So it's the other 2 Rioja grape varieties, but it's not from Rioja, because we wouldn't want to do that. That would be boring. It's from Navarra. Navarra is the next door neighbor of Rioja. I mean, right next door. I mean, they literally can peer at each other over the garden fence. They share the same type of land. They share the same type of weather. They share the same type of winemakers. Me and Dan actually work with winemakers that have 1 foot in Rioja and 1 foot in Navarra. Their Rioja wines can sell based on name alone. Their Navarran wines, nobody wants to touch. It's madness. It's a fantastic region, and it's producing great quality wine that nobody knows about. I love Navarra. We'll keep on talking about it until people give it as much respect as Rioja. It's a fantastic region. So this is a Graciano Garnacha blend. Garnacha, as a grape variety, is rich in juicy fruit. It's a sun worshipper. It gets ripened so easily, and therefore it becomes juicy and rich in sugars and loads of fruit flavor. The Graciano is more of a spicy beast, similar to Shiraz, spicy, peppery nature, a bit more aggressive than Garnacha. Together, they make a fantastically rounded red wine. This one is oak aged, so the Tempranillo wasn't, there was no oak, and so this one is, and that gives me an opportunity to talk about oak and what does that actually mean. It's had 8 months in oak, but only 30% of the wine went into new oak. What were you talking about, Sam? Well, the difference between new oak and old oak is that the old oak has been used a few times, and so the flavor's worn off, and the new oak is brand new, and so it's more powerful. And so actually it's kind of like a temperature gauge for your oak flavor. Why the hell would you want oak flavor in your wine? Well, for 2 reasons. One, it adds richness to the wine. It adds flavor to the wine. So classic sort of oaky flavors might be vanilla, bit of spice or tobacco even, people say, but it adds an extra level. But the primary reason for oak aging in all red wines is going back to our friend tannins. A lot of you saying you don't like the bitter aftertaste of tannins, that grippy, drying nature in the gums. Well, oak is fantastic for softening tannins, and that is why some of the most powerful red wines in the world spend time in oak, to literally just calm them down a bit in the tannin department. Very famous wine, Barolo from Italy, sort of made famous by The Godfather, big Italian red wine. If you try a Barolo fresh out the bottle, fresh new, before it's had any time in oak, it is a beast. It'll rip your face off. But 12 months in oak is very, very pleasant to drink, very, very popular, and commands very, very high prices. That's why we age in oak. So this guy has had 8 months. 30% of it went into new oak to add a bit more oomph. The rest of it went into old oak, when, you know, a bit more relaxed in the approach. So it should have smoothed out the tannins. I've not even tried it yet. I'm gonna have a sip.
So yeah, I mean that's coming perfectly on to kind of Pippa put a message in the chat before. You know, obviously struggled with a bit of aftertaste with wines, and you know it is about those tannins. So if that bitter bit at the end, Pippa, is kind of not what you're into, look for something. Now it is actually quite hard because it doesn't always say whether something has had any oak or not, but have a quick read of the bottle, and if it's had a bit of oak aging, and you can get oak aging in white wines as well, yeah, it'll definitely kind of soften that bitter tannin down. It seems to be proving quite popular. A few comments saying best of the night, really enjoying it. It's a great wine. This, I love it.
Good thing you picked up there on Dan about identifying oak aging as well. That's actually a really good one that I can help you with. So yeah, it's not likely to say like on the front anyway, oak aged. It might say on the back, but there are some keywords you can look for, guys. They were born in Spain. They were born out of Rioja. It's the rules that Rioja apply to oak aging, but actually it's been inherited by certainly like Spanish, predominantly Spanish inherited countries like Chile and stuff like that. 3 words to look for: Joven with a J, Spanish for young. Joven means no oak. Crianza, which I'm guessing is a word a lot of you will recognize for seeing on the front of maybe a Rioja or something else. Crianza means 6 months worth of oak. And then Reserva, which I'm sure loads of you have seen, generally means about 12 months of oak, so more oak. And then there is another one, Gran Reserva, which is 18 months of oak. So don't worry too much about but what's the difference between Reserva and Gran Reserva or Crianza Reserva? Just note that those words mean oak. And if you're into that, fantastic. If you're not into that, steer away from those words.
Yeah, and it's not just Riojas that have, reservas, Gran Reservas.
Lots of different. Yeah.
So right. Do you like Jamshed? A lot of people saying about they felt a bit jammy and sweet. It's very much a popular thing, isn't it, with wines at the minute? That kind of fairly sweet, jammy vibe, and that's primarily just a grape that's really making a strong push now, isn't it, Sam? That kind of jammy.
Yeah. So as the UK as a consumer is enjoying rich, heavy, big red wines, but we don't like tannin, and therefore the winemakers are compensating for that by piling in sugar. Now, I don't even know what grape variety you're in, Jamshed. I don't know what goes into it, but what I would say is just be careful of big brands producing these styles of wine, because the difference between big brands producing that style of wine and a proper winemaker is the proper winemaker will use the sun to really ripen his grapes. In fact, actually, there's a style called a passamento. Look for the word passamento on your Italian red wines, where not only do they ripen them, but they dry them out in the sun, like to raisins. And that creates that jammy, rich, sugary flavor because it essentially is extracting the water from the grapes. Big brands, there's a tendency to pile sugar in, and then it becomes sickly and a bit not too much. And actually, do you know what? If you've had a night of enjoying it, you'll feel it the next day. Because literally it's just piling in sugar.
The reason a lot of people feel that red wine gives them a bad head the next day, more so than perhaps some white wines, is actually it's very hard to drink cheap white wines. They are very hard to drink, but some of the cheaper, more mass-produced red wines, sod it. A few people love the fact that we were renegades. Stuff like Dark Horse. The Americans are really bad for it.
Oh yeah, Dark Horse. It's just like sugar fest.
They throw sugar in it, right? And so actually, what happens is you're drinking it going, oh, this is like drinking Vimto. Like, absolutely love it. So you're not 2, maybe 3 bottles back. And it's really that mega hangover on Jamshed. So Jamshed do a Shiraz and a Malbec version. But yeah, it is the fact that it's so sweet and essentially like drinking pop, that you either ply a load of it in, which just, as you know, the more you drink, the worse your hangover is going to be, or it is actually the additive that gives you, it's not sulfite really, you know, it's the additive that just gives you a stonking headache. And it's because mass-produced wines, you know, to make their money, given like what we said earlier, the fact that they've only got a few pence per bottle, they just get all the grapes in, crush it, have a little sip of it, and go, oh, we need to add a bit of this, we need to add a bit of that, rather than worrying about it on the vine. So, you know, little rule we like to live our wine lives by here at Smash Grapes: if a wine has billboards, TV adverts, it's probably got additives in it. Now, don't get me wrong, I've been known to drink 1 or 2 bottles of Trivento and very much enjoy it, but it is a mass-produced wine. You know, you do have to remember that. You have to, you know, it's not going to be a fantastic example of winemaking. Kerry, Nick, Caroline, and Ian, is this being recorded? We've had a lot of wine now, and it's all very interesting, but we won't remember it. Yes, absolutely. So this YouTube video, you can just click the link, and you'll be available to watch it back again to remind yourselves at any point. I'm going to show you as well where to find these 6 wines at the end. But yeah, let's get rid of wine number 3. Sorry, wine number 2. Let's get we're 5 wines in now, guys. Let's get rid of wine number 2 because we're going to move on to our last red wine of the evening. Red wine number 3. Number 3, yes. So.
Yeah, we'll move on to it. Just worth mentioning, guys, if you really are into those like rich, jammy style red wines, there are some fantastic grape varieties and countries to look out for. In broad strokes, you want to be looking for hot countries, and grape varieties, for example, like Primitivo or Grenache or Ganacha. But what I think we'll probably do is, I don't know if we can do a whole tasting on them, but we'll either do like a blog or a social post or a piece in the next magazine. Just like we'll point you in the direction of some great examples of like pure, jammy, rich, delightful red wine, which is going to be great quality, which isn't going to leave you with a stonking head the next morning, and also, as ever, offers great value for money. So we'll have a look at that, because I love them too. So we should have a look.
Laura B and Ed have just asked, can we buy a wine glass with your logo on? They've obviously clocked my my lovely Smash Grapes wine glass. Yes, at some point we'll sort these out. We've got a few bits and pieces in the pipeline. So yes, potentially, yes, you will be able to get yourself a glass. Right, so red number 3. Then red number 3. Let's last one of the night, guys. Let's get this poll going. Let's see what you reckon. What are you getting here with red wine number 3? What have we got coming in here? Right, let's put the lid back on this one. Smooth, very soft we got there.
Jammy. Good.
Jammy, blackcurrant. Yeah. This one poured out. Yeah.
Lots of soft, good.
Lots of soft. Yeah, good vote for soft there.
Peppery,
tart,
smoky.
Tart, blackcurrant, yeah.
Cherry, licorice, earthy, nice, yeah. Ooh, few earthies.
Yeah.
Good. Guys, these guys know their stuff. It's not their first rodeo.
Nope. Well, no, it's good. It's great. You know, do you know what? Like, very much, you know, we do try and pitch ourselves. We've been having quite a lot of conversations recently with people about like what Smash Grapes is and what we're about. And we like to describe the wine industry in the UK as very much a triangle. You've got this mass-produced stuff that we've made our opinions pretty clear on. You've got this kind of far left point of natural, organic, biodynamics, all this stuff that people don't really understand, and actually is great. A lot of the principles are great, but it's just a bit too out there for a lot of people. And then, you know, this other point is this stuffy kind of historic old boys club where you're actively made to feel like you don't know enough about wine, and you know you can't get you know you'll never be able to pick the right stuff, so you know, don't even bother. And actually, you know, we want to sit somewhere in the middle, you know, so we want to be as open to people that really enjoy wine and the technical insight in wine as the people who just want to enjoy a really nice bottle. You know, aren't that bothered about the age of the vines, or just want to know that what they're buying is good. So that's kind of where we're trying to sit inside of that. So yeah, it's great.
Well, we're getting loads on this one.
We're getting loads. Yeah.
Good.
Makes me feel like a witch in the woods. That's a couple of votes for that. Yeah, earthy, peppery, cherry. More votes for makes me feel like a witch in the woods.
Good stuff. Okay, so we're going to we've done full circle. We are back in the northwest, and we are in Bierzo is the region. Dio Bierzo. It's near to Castilla Leon. So we're in the northwest. We're not quite as close to the coast as Ria Bajas in Galicia, but we're up in that region. We're back in the mountains and the valleys and the green sort of part of Spain. And actually, one of the benefits of that Bierzo gets is essentially its own microclimate, because the mountains around this region sort of shelter it. They sort of protect it from changing weather. And actually, you'll find that in all sorts of places around the world. Chile, for example, the reason that Chile consistently makes fantastic wine, and we love Chilean wine, we should do a night on Chilean wine, is because the mountains and the ocean create this protectional barrier from changeable weather. Because changeable weather is a nightmare for any farmer, let alone a nightmare for a wine producer. So yeah, we've got mountains, we've got valleys, and it creates this microclimate where actually they get the cooling effects of green Spain, of the Atlantic Ocean, and also they get this sort of more hot summers of central Spain, creating that diurnal change that we talked about, which is, you know, going from the very hot in the day to the nice and cool in the evening, so that we generate sugars in the day, but we maintain acidity at night to create a balance. So that's Bierzo. What's in the glass though, Sam? Well, this is Mencía. Mencía is the grape. Mencía it's a funny one, really. It's medium to high in body, medium to high in acidity and tannin, and so you would naturally think on our scale, you know, as we're sort of going from the light reds in the cool up into the hefty guys up in the hot areas, you'd naturally think it's down the end next to maybe a Pinot Noir or a Gamay from France, but actually it's got a bit of weight to it. It's got a bit of punch. And that makes it quite unusual. It's what we call, bear with me, a complex grape variety. Now, when Dan saw the word complex written on my notes, I could tell he died a little bit inside, because it goes against everything that... So
to put that into context, Sam's the wine expert, I'm the wine drinker, and we find a happy medium where, you know, the jargon isn't too much and it's all done at a level that everyone gets. And there's often Sam will come in, oh yeah, we're going to use this word. I'm like, I mean, diurnal change I had to let pass, but I think you explained it very well. But yeah, no, like, complex. Like I said to you right at the start, we didn't really want to get into the whole thing of, oh yeah, you know, you can really get the gravel, or the worst one that's come out is, oh yeah, getting a lot of cat pee. Cat pee was one of the ones. I mean, I now understand that is actually a term that's used for quite a few different wines, but yeah, so we try and keep it at a level that's just really accessible. So yes, Sam, complex. Let's
Sorry, it is complex. It's complex. What do we mean? What do people mean? What do wine snobs mean when they say complex? Well, what they mean is there's just loads of flavors going on, and actually, you guys reflected that on Slido with the huge variety of stuff going on in there. You know, there was fruity flavors, there were spicy flavors, there was earthy flavors, there was loads of different things going on, and that is essentially what a complex wine is all about. This red grape variety has acidity to make refreshing, but it has loads of fruit and sugar to make it bold and juicy. It has been aged in oak, 6 months in oak here, to soften the tannins, and actually they've done a great job with 6 months of oak. It's silky smooth, very, very enjoyable, very light and easy. And so it sits in this weird world in the middle where it's got oomph, but it's gentle, and it's smooth, but it's got bite, and it's very difficult really to sum it up. The reason I put it in tonight, because actually it goes against everything I love about Spanish wine, because what I love about Spanish wine is it sort of says what it is on the tin, and it's enjoyable, and you drink it fast, and that's about it. It goes against all of those things. But the reason I put it in here, and it is the most expensive wine of the night, if you are enjoying it, Mencia as a grape variety, unheard of. Bierzo as a region, unheard of. But this wine in a glass delivers so much. It's fantastically smooth, elegant, tasty, complex, whatever you want to say, doesn't really matter, means nothing. But it is really enjoyable and tasty. It could stand up to most meals, a nice roast dinner, nice, celebratory meal. It's a little bit more, it's at the top end of our price point. So it would be for a special occasion wine. If you wanted to buy the equivalent wine from somewhere like Burgundy in France, you would be paying 2 or 3 times as much money for the quality. And that's the reason that I put it in here. It has all the properties of a fantastic red Burgundy. And if you are a wine connoisseur, you might think Burgundy, it's essentially the place to go for the best wines in the world. These guys are selling wines at thousands and thousands of pounds per bottle. But ultimately, it's just wine. It's made from Pinot Noir, which is quite similar to Mencia, and it has a climate quite similar to Bierzo. And so really the reason I put this in is actually, if you are going to splash out on special occasion wine every now and again, which we do, whether it be because we're going to go see friends and we want to show off, or whether it be because we're having granny round for roast dinner, whatever it is, don't be lured in to the trap of special occasion wines from famous places like Bordeaux, like Burgundy. Christ, not champagne, please. Don't be lured in to paying for history, reputation, and ultimately a marketing budget which has made them the pillar of quality. Because actually, you would be far better paying 1/3 of the price for something like this and sticking that on the dinner table with your best friends, and them all going, wow, what is this? And surprising them, then sticking some Burgundy on. And that really is essentially like what Spanish wine is about as well. It is about simple and straightforward and gluggable, but it's also about the fact that actually these guys are just as amazing at producing wine as France or Italy or wherever. But we don't give them the reputation they deserve and the credit they deserve, because all we really know about and care about because of marketing is Rioja. And that's really the message of the evening is look at Spanish wine and look at the variety and see what sort of enjoyment you can get out of it. But yeah, I love it. I hope you do too.
Yeah, a lot of love there. A few people saying, it's a bit of a toss-up between wine 2 and wine 3. And, we always knew that was going to be the case. I'm a massive fan of that wine 2, and it breaks my heart a little bit that we aren't going to be able to stock it permanently. But this number 3, it is absolutely, it's a great wine. A couple of questions coming in. One of my favorites, and it's one of the big things with like wine snobbery, and we've even gone as far as if you've got anyone in your life that gives you pressure over this, you need to disown them as a friend. Cork versus Screwcap, Sam. Cork versus Screwcap. Where do we sit on the argument? Cork versus Screwcap.
So, listen, at the end of the day, whatever your bottle of wine is sealed with, be it a cork, be it a Screwcap, be it a rubber bung, the point is to stop air getting in. There's no other benefits. There's no other reason. There's no other principles involved. You just want air to not touch the wine. Now, if the cap does that better than the cork, which it does far more consistently, what else is there to talk about? It literally is just a device for stopping air getting in. Reason that many vineyards and winemakers continue to use cork is purely because we associate it with class or with heritage or maybe with an extra few quid on the price point. That is the only reason. It's also the fact that actually, like, buying the machinery and stuff to cap wine takes a little bit of upfront investment. So old-fashioned winemakers will go, oh, we've not really got the capital to get the bottling machinery put in for capping, so we'll stick with cork for now. But ultimately, cork is an old-fashioned method. Capping is the new method. Capping is more consistent, does the job better, has absolutely zero effect on the flavour of the wine. The only thing you're going to experience differently with a cork is that it's going to fail occasionally. It doesn't happen with a cap, and that's essentially it.
Absolutely right. There is quite a few other questions flying in. Keep them coming. We are gonna cross over them. But now that we've done all of the wines, I'm just gonna quickly walk you through how you very quickly find all 6 wines that we've had tonight. So I've shown you how to go and claim your wine tokens. Obviously, you can see it in lovely, nice bit easier down here. You've logged in, you've got your wine tokens, you've applied that. Now, how are you going to find the 6 wines that we've done tonight? Now, you might be thinking, well, I only really enjoyed 2 of them, so your wine tokens apply across the entire site, right? Absolutely. You can use them on anything, and they don't just apply to these 6. But just to show you, so you've got. You've landed on the Smashcrate website, you've logged in, you've got your wine tokens. You're going to head to the shop, okay? So you're going to hit the shop, and then you'll see this on the left-hand side if you're on a mobile, or you're going to see this lovely little search bar here if you're on a desktop, on a laptop, whatever. And when you hit the collection button, let me scroll down. This one here as well, we didn't do it tonight. This Agnosta La Tribuna, again, is a Spanish wine. It's going to be our wine of the month. It is incredible. If you haven't tried it, I'd definitely look out for that one. Right, so collection. You're going to hit here, and right down the bottom, try before you buy. So this is the try before you buy tasting that we have done tonight. So you're going to hit that, and the 6 wines that we drank are all here. We've got the 2 whites and the rosé, the 3 reds. They're all there. You can, take a little look, have a little read. Remember, you've got those wine tokens to cash in as well. So yeah, that is how you find them. From the shop page, you're going to go to collections and going to look for the filter of try before you buy. It's that simple. It is that simple. If I clear that, we've got a whole host of wines listed in the store. You can also filter by country. So, we're big fans of Spain. So we've got a number of Spanish wines in at the minute. All kinds of different stuff going on here. If you like your organics, if you like your vegan wines, there's a lot of choice for everyone there. So yeah, have a little look round. But what you really need for those 6 wines is try before you buy down here. Okay, right. That's that. Let's cut back across. Let's see. We've got a couple of questions to tick over here. Really enjoy wines from the Douro in Portugal. Will we do a Portuguese wine tasting?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Douro. I love Douro wines. Actually, at the moment, we don't have a decent supply of Douro. But one of the things that me and Dan are looking into at the moment is really expanding our suppliers. And Douro is definitely somewhere I want to go. So very, very briefly, Portugal was absolutely dominated by the port industry for a very, very long time, which meant that still wine producers, the wine we drink normally, were just left out of the market. That's been changed, and actually still wine producers are now getting a bit more room to do what they want to do, and the wine is fantastic. So we will definitely look at Douro wine for sure.
Cool. Pippa says, with the white wine 2, with the reds wine 3 being my favourites, I've identified the point on the sliding scale I like best. So I'm assuming you're referring to our cool climate to hot climate sliding scale. How do I know what to look for on a bottle? So Pippa, really it's about the weather. So obviously the region in the country will always be on the label. It'll tell you, well, actually, no, that's a complete lie. Depending on the country that you're getting the wine from, you will either see, Vin de France, or, you either get a very wide area or you get quite a narrow region. Get your phone out, have a quick Google, see what the weather's like. If it's particularly hot, you're going to be at that, higher end reds, kind of more cooked fruit. your whites, tropical fruits, and if it's a colder climate, your whites are going to be racy and acidic, or your reds are going to be very light. That's the best way to do it. Like I say, some wines are just wine of the country, in which case you've got to take a much broader brushstroke, and that just comes down to a whole thing about regions and labeling, which is a whole other ball game for us to get into. So that's really how you can find yourself on that scale. Again, another English wines. A lot of comments on English wines, coming up. English wines.
English wine. So if we think about that scale, English wine, we are very much at the coolest end of the scale. In fact, sort of we're so cool, we're off it. We're off the end of the scale. Now, recently, climate change has actually meant that the south of England has become, climate-wise, very similar to the north of France, and therefore we have been able to have this growth in our wine industry. So if you're an English winemaker, great times. But what it does mean is that really English wine is only good for high acid, low sugar. So for whites, it's okay. You can get these light, racy, high acid white wines. For reds, there's almost not enough sun. You really got to enjoy very, very, very light red wine to like English red wine. I'm not into it personally. But what I would say is we haven't mentioned on that spectrum is sparkling wine really has to be very high acid to do with the making process of sparkling wine, more high acid than any still wine you'll ever taste, in order to get through the sparkling wine process. So English sparkling wine, fill your boots. Absolutely fill your boots. Really, really good stuff.
Yeah, some really fantastic English wine producers as well, and we definitely love. As Sam said, we're in talks to try and bring a few people on board and expand our suppliers, and obviously because it's in its infancy, it is very artisan, so prices are very much at the top end for good stuff. Prices are very much at the top end of what we would want to be putting into the Smash Grape store, but yeah, it's definitely something we want to look at. We'd love to get in there. Right, what have we got? How do we recycle our wine pouches? Kerry, we'll drop you an email over the weekend just with the information on how to do it. Make sure they're empty for us. Give them a little rinse out, and essentially what we'll ask you to do is to post them back to us. We then recycle them with the manufacturer. This is our first outing doing this, so apologies that you'll need to put them in an envelope, but you will be able to just use a large letter stamp. Obviously, we would love to give you like prepaid envelopes and those kind of things, but we're just not quite there just yet. So for the fact that you have to put them in an envelope and whack a stamp on it, when we receive the wines back, we'll give you all the information for this. We'll bung a $5 of wine tokens in your account, just for the hassle of doing that, and obviously the cost of the stamp and envelope. So yes, we really would encourage you, please do send them back to us for recycling. And then we won't just wash them out and send them back to you. Don't worry, they are going to get recycled. But yeah, we're working with a specialist, the manufacturer, to sort these pouches out.
Somebody mentioned, Dan, they've fallen off the table. It was very specific to them question, but it's worth mentioning. Somebody said, "I'm getting married in Burgundy.
Yes.
Should I import Spanish wines after my sort of slating of Burgundy?" Absolutely not. Listen, any winemaking region which is famous for making good wine must be making good wine. But what I would say to you is don't get lured into paying for big famous brands, because even with, we could do a night on Burgundy alone, yeah. Right? Even within Burgundy, there are these fantastic small family-owned producers that are still under the radar of big marketing, big business, that don't get a look in because of that. That are making fantastic wine, but aren't part of that sort of, race to the top. So absolutely not. Burgundy is a great region. It makes fantastic wine. I love Burgundy. I love white Burgundy. It's one of my favorite things to drink, but don't overpay for it. See what's out there.
Cool. Yeah. And ultimately as well, if you're physically in Burgundy, actually what you're going to be doing is not having to pay import duty into the UK market. We touched on duty before, and obviously there's a whole thing going on there. So yeah, if you're in Burgundy, clearly when you're in country, you're going to get a much better deal for the local wines. And my recommendation to anyone is when you're abroad is village wine comes in a clay carafe. Get involved. That is the house wine is gonna the local wines are gonna be the best thing. Don't go abroad and buy something imported, because you're always going to just be throwing some of your money on an import tax. So yeah, I mean, if you're in Burgundy, yeah, of course, hit the Burgundies up, because it's going to be good. Right, let's have another quick look. When will the next tasting be? We are doing these every month. So the last Friday of the month is going to be tasting. So I think it's sometime around the 26th of June. Don't quote me on that, but the last Friday in June will be our next wine tasting. And what we're basically doing is, we're giving you a sample of the next 6 wines that are going to list in the Smash Grape store. We have an ever-evolving list of wines. We don't stock something and keep it forever. We've got a couple of wines that we really love that we keep in, but it always changes. So always come and take a look. A lot of people commenting that they find our approach very refreshing, and that's exactly what we're here to do. And if you read the descriptions we put on wines, it's a really tough job, but me and Sam do actually try every wine before we put it into the Smash Grape store. And actually, we're that confident that the wines are enjoyable. If you don't enjoy it, let us know and we'll give you your money back. That's how much we care about putting good wines into the store. So yeah, take a little look. But yeah, the last Friday of every month will be a wine tasting. Italy is definitely on the cards. I saw that as well coming up. Italy, fantastic region for country. Sorry, for wines. It's a great country. Yeah, how often we do it? Let's have a quick look. Thoughts on Cypriot wines? Not a lot being imported, but being a big fan of Cyprus. A lot of their local wines, absolutely great. Some fantastic Greek wines as well. Again, we just can't quite get enough of it to really do like an entire night on it. But we could probably do a little Mediterranean tour potentially.
Yeah, we could do Mediterranean unknowns. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we've done a couple of Lebanese wines as well. Did we find a few countries where you just get like one or two good. Chris says he's just shut down the Laithwaites and Virgin account. He's converted to Smash Grapes. Fantastic news, Chris.
Good stuff.
Good stuff. Well, look, we are here to try and just make this whole thing just a little bit more grounded. And just get rid of some of that guff, that barriers that are put up to make you just feel like you don't know enough, and actually you've got to take someone else's who knows so much more than me opinion that clearly I should like this because it's it is a Chateau Neuf de Pape, so I should like it. That is not what we're about. I was at a wine bar last night. I went out after because the world is reopening. Went out after a work meeting. A very trendy wine bar, lovely location, but they didn't have a wine list, and the waiter came over and asked me, what kind of wines I generally drank, because he would make the choice for me of the wine that I would have, because they only served natural and organic wines. And I just, that's just not what we're about. I mean, don't get me wrong, I had a wine, it was lovely. I couldn't tell you what it was called because he didn't let me order it, didn't let me let me make that choice. Just feeling like other people should be making those for you is just not what we're about at all. Chile, says Sean. Yeah, absolutely, big fan.
Yeah,
big
for sure, we'll
Chile.
do Chile. Yeah,
big fan. Yes, as I say, all of those wines are in that collection. You can find them all there. We will drop you an email as well shortly. That'll remind you which one was 1, 2, 3 of each. You can go back to that email at any point. If you've had enough to drink tonight and you just think, I'm just going to enjoy my bank holiday weekend, guys. I'll take a look on Monday. That's absolutely fine. As I say, the number 2, the Primero, the Navarra, it is a limited stock. So unfortunately, I can't guarantee we will get any more of that. We're going to try our absolute best to get those back. back in stock, and it will be a limited amount that we get. So in essence, when that's gone, it's gone. I am gutted because I really, really enjoy that. Let's have a look. Yes, tasting, yes, for sure. Italy, yes. What other questions have we got going on here? Mencia, very much enjoyed. Yeah, we knew that was always going to be a fave. Breath of fresh air. That's great. That's what we want. Swiss wine is a hidden gem. Having spent 8 years there, it's a country of quality wines. Yeah,
I don't know anything about Swiss wine, to be honest with you. Don't know anything about it. But what I can tell you is I love cool climate, high acid, racy white wines, and I'm imagining that's what you get in Switzerland. So I would definitely be into trying some, but not come in contact with it.
Which of tonight's wines would you recommend to go with tapas?
You either want the Tempranillo from the Reds, because it is a fantastic. Number one. Because it's a fantastic all-rounder, like I said, and it really is the red of Spain, and will go fantastically. The thing about tapas is it's so varied. There's so many different things, isn't there? So it's a good all-rounder in that sense. And if you want the whites, oh god.
Well, we've got a better white. We've got a better Spanish white for tapas, but we did it last time. Yeah. If you want to go for tapas, we've got another wine, which is a grape called Macabeo. It's in the shop. Yeah, and it's in this month. It's in next month's magazine. So when you order from us as well, not only with your wine, do you get your wines? We do take the time to write a lovely kind of 20-page, 20-page magazine, just with a bit of information, exactly the same way and pitch and approach that we've given you tonight. And actually, we've taken next month's magazine Spanish as well. We've done we do a food pairing piece.
The whole thing on tapas. Yeah,
we picked tapas for that one, and Macabeo is the one we've gone for there. So we've got a white Macabeo in store now. Perfect for tapas.
Great
Goes
wine.
Really well. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, lovely wine. Right. Let's have a little look. So look, guys, the biggest thing I can really ask for you to take away from this is, if you've enjoyed tonight, take a look at that review email when it lands. It does mean a lot, and ultimately, we are a brand new business, so those reviews, the photos from yourselves are going to get you a 15% off code for your next order. Do tell your friends, and we are incentivizing you to do that. You can give them £20 off. When they then go on and buy, you'll get £20 off yourself, and you do that all within your Wine Tokens portal. And just, take a look at the emails that we send out. We don't send a great deal, but we like to tell you what's coming up in the shop and what's coming up as well over the next couple of weeks. Now, one quite exciting thing that I thought, while I've got a few of you on the line, it'd be great for me to just kind of allude to. Obviously, we're about to hit June. So we're going to hit Father's Day very, very soon. If you've got a father that is really into his wine, we're going to put a couple of gift boxes together. So you'll be able to send them wine, a few snacks, and whatever. But actually, we've gone one step further. One of our producers has really kind of got behind what we're all about and just produced an absolutely fantastic, easy drinking wine that we are so proud of. We've put our own label on it, so let me just grab these for you. So we are introducing the Domaine to Dad wine for the Man Cave. We've got a red and a white. These are a classic French wine, so I know this is Spanish night, but these are a couple of fantastic wines that we've got in a Father's Day gift set. These are Smash Grapes specifically produced wines. So yeah, they're going to be available very soon, so keep an eye on your inbox. We'll be launching those. You'll be able to get a case with 3 bottles of wine, a few snacks for the father who has got everything and enjoys a lovely drop of wine. Let's have another little look through. Alan and Anne, tasting quantities are very generous. We're not a 50ml measure kind of wine tasting this. We want you to really enjoy it. So I'm glad.
Proper drinking it.
Exactly. I'm glad you said that. That's great to know. White 2, favorite of the night, says Laura and Ed. Yeah, Pippa, White 2 again. You know, I mean, I'm a big Video fan. You know, you've introduced me to that, Sam, and very much a fan. Sam, Vaud and Vallis region in Switzerland, more than happy to point you in the right direction.
Fantastic. Yeah, brilliant.
Absolutely.
We'll have a look. It's worth mentioning, guys, as well. You know, ultimately, you know, there's no illusion here. We're here to sell wine. We are a wine store, but actually, really, the reason that we do these tastings and we want people to join in and we want people to refer and all that stuff is actually we want to sort of create a Smash Grapes community, and we want people, like-minded people, to be involved in Smash Grapes and to be enjoying the wine, but also asking the questions. So listen, if you've got a party coming up and you want to pick the right wine, or if you're in the supermarket aisle, you know, seriously, doesn't matter. If you're in the supermarket aisle, doesn't matter, Aldi, Sainsbury's, Tesco's, and you're unsure, like, you can see on the website, there's points to contact us. There's Facebook, there's, you know, the email, all that sort of stuff. Send us questions. We will always answer them. We're not precious about where you're getting your wine from. We just want to support people to make better choices about wine, because the thing we are most passionate about, the thing that really gets us out of bed in the morning, is getting everybody to enjoy wine in the best possible way. And that's not always the way that people are doing it when they step into the supermarket. And actually, if we can help you in any way, doesn't matter if the money's coming our way or going into somebody else's pocket, we will help you as best we can.
Absolutely. Isabel just put a message in. I've just looked up the Macabeo and it is sold out. Yes, we... Yeah. Oh, sorry. No, we have just, you know, we've just sold the last couple of bottles. We'll get some in early next week. So keep an eye on that. I'll get some more in on that one. We've had a very busy evening on the Macabeo actually this evening. So yes, we will 100% be getting some more in. Laura and Ed, are we online or do we just have a shop? We are online only at the moment. You know, who knows what the future holds, but yes, very much online only. But take a little look. If you order before 1 o'clock, your wines will be with you the next day. You know, it's that simple. By not having a shop, we do keep our overheads down, so it does allow us to have a few bits and pieces on offer as well, and do these kind of things. You know, 2 and 3, love them both. Yeah, you know, I think
2 and 3 seem very popular.
Red wine 2 and 3 definitely been very popular. Let's have a look. Anything else? Any other questions? Are we getting more Bobal in? Yeah, Bobal, another fantastic Spanish red wine. Very much the Merlot of Spain. So yeah, if you're going to keep an eye on our website next week, I think, to be fair, the Bobal and the Macabeo that are currently out of stock, I'll definitely send an email next week once we've got those back in. You know, classic bit of Brexit wrangling, getting some of this stuff in from the EU. We will have more Bobal in for Tuesday, and we've got another Spanish white wine coming in as well, an En Blanco, which is by the same people who make that Bobal. That those of you that did the tasting last month will have had that Bobal. It was very, very popular. We sold out of it pretty much straight away. That is going to come back. So if you order some wines this weekend and then in a couple of weeks you're thinking, oh, I'm gonna have another one, my recommendations for you for wines that we've not had tonight, in the red wines, if we're sticking with Spain, go with the Bobal and the La Tribuna. The La Tribuna is an absolutely unbelievable red wine. So it's a GSM blend, Grenache, Syrah, Mourvedre. It's what you'll get if you go and buy a bottle of Chateauneuf du Pape, but it's just not from that region. It's a Spanish version. Absolutely fantastic red wine. And in the whites, we've got a white wine. It's in stock at the minute. And you know, I wouldn't go anywhere else for a Spanish white wine, and it's a field blend. So I couldn't tell you what grapes are in it. We know roughly what it is, but you know, you go up to Juan in the field and ask him what he's growing, and he just says grapes. You know, it is proper rustic Spanish winemaking that the fella just wants to drink himself. It's called Tequillero. It's a white field blend Spanish wine. Unbelievable. It's fantastic. So So yeah, take a look at that one as well. Let's have a look. Anything else? No other questions, I think, at the minute. Maz says there's a lot of local shops vacant. Yes, there are. Not quite ready yet for that one though, Maz. Very, very soon. It did sell out very quickly, Alexa. Yes, it is back in stock. We're going to have it. It's our wine of the month, so it is going to be in for the foreseeable. Anything else? No other questions. So look, guys, I just want to say a massive thank you for supporting us. We are a small business. We've literally just hit a year old last week, but we've only very recently really moved into this kind of bottle shop wine tasting kind of virtual world. So the support is absolutely, it's phenomenal. So I just, I do want to say a massive thank you. And I know Sam will echo that, I'm sure. Like Sam said, what we actually want to do is just want to get people drinking great wine. And, we don't have all the answers, but, like I say, if you're having some friends round, you're having a barbecue, you're having a party, or you're just bewildered in the supermarket aisle and you want some suggestions, we're always available on Facebook, Instagram. You can even send us an email. You can get us on the contact form on the website. Doesn't matter if you're buying it from us. We just love to talk about wine and drinking great wine, and that's what we're about. So yeah, I'd just love to leave you there. Thank you very much, everyone. Any questions with the website, with your wine tokens, with ordering, if something's out of stock and you don't want to order till it's back, just drop us a note, and we'll do our absolute best to see it all through. But cheers, thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure to share tonight with you, and we will see you hopefully on the next one, which will be the last Friday in June. I think sometime around the 24th, 25th. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
See you in a bit. Cheers.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.